This is a punk with toys, and today I'm going to go over something a little different. I'm not going to be doing a review, but I want to talk about a couple things. Um, and one has to do with the Haslab Skystriker that is coming close to the end. So obviously I'm going to do a video to maybe get some more people to back it, hoping that we get it. I might as well do it before before the time comes, and it's something I really wish Hasbro would have done. I'm not going to talk about it a lot because I don't know. I don't work for Hasbro. I know nothing about it other than what I see and what they say, and just listening to some key words that they've mentioned. So that's going to be at the end of the video. It's going to be the second part of the video. But the other thing I want to talk about is the sheet kind of came up about the classified figures that are going to be coming out. And on there were two that no one knew what they were. And one was the fan, the fan product or something like that, which nobody knows what that means. And then the other one was a figure with an animal. And everyone's been throwing out the different figures. They come with the animals, different things like that. So that's the first thing I want to look at or talk about. And I'm going way off the board with this. And again, I don't work for Hasbro. I know nothing. I don't know these people. But there's just something that they continue to talk about. And this is way off the board because people are talking about Junkyard, they're talking about Law and Order. But I have a feeling that Lenny was very adamant that we don't have to follow exactly what was happening with the GI Joe line. We can do a little bit different. And he was very adamant about Road Pig. Road Pig and how big he is. And he swings this big cinder block, you know. And he'd be a big character. He'd be like Gung Ho, Roadblock, Crocmaster when he comes out. But my thinking was he was very adamant about how this is the figure he really wants to see. But what if you came out with a Road Pig that looked very similar and you gave him a wild boar? I mean, he's a Road Pig, the boar. It fit in perfectly with the Dreadnought. So I just want to say this. I posted out a couple different things. And it's really my best guess. He was very adamant about this, and I have no knowledge. I'm just throwing something different out there because for the price point of $40, it's hard to say that you would go with a Junkyard and Mutt, a Law and Order and whatever. And then it clearly wouldn't be, you know, Shipwreck and Polly. So I'm going with a big giant wild boar and Road Pig because again it fits in perfectly with the Dreadnoughts. Lenny was very adamant, and if you listen to a lot of things that these guys have been talking about, they keep dropping hints and hints and hints. So that was the first thing that I want to talk to. I kind of want to get on the record because if it does come out and I'm like, dude, I said that, I don't want people being like, yeah, sure you did. Well, here's a video of it. So the next thing was the fan, the fan toy or whatever it was, and no one seems to know what that is, including myself. But there was one thing that Emily continued to talk about and what she loved about the GI Joe. And now you have to understand this. At least this is what I gathered from Emily. Is she's not a GI Joe fan. She came over from, I believe, Power Rangers. I've heard people talk glowingly about her and said you guys are gonna love having her there. So she's learning about GI Joe. So this is not like Lenny talking about it, who grew up a GI Joe fan. This is someone who's learning about the GI Joe and everything that we used to get as kids. And this goes to the course correction of what the GI Joe team, and I believe Hasbro more than anything, because I have a feeling that if you were to ask Lenny, he wanted to do this in the beginning. But when these first classified figures dropped, they were very futuristic. The Nerf guns or laser guns, nobody wanted it. They course corrected to start making figures once they read and saw where people were upset, and you see that they're listening to the fans because they're going with O-rings again. They're moving away from the retro and going to O-rings, at least for right now. And you look at the new classified figures, and they look like they are modern designs of the figures we had, which is I love. I like that we have this classic, but I didn't want the same old boring classic. They're doing a modern, way better than the futuristic ones that they had. But here's the other thing. You have someone like Valorverse who specifically made a Marine outfit to go to Gung Ho. He actually did a video where he showed them putting it on there. So Emily talked about one of the things she loved about GI Joe was the accessory packs. Well, there's no reason to have an accessory pack now. The reason why we had accessory packs back in the day was because kids lost guns, and they were always different colors, so you knew they weren't the right ones. But what if, after what we've seen, the course correction that they've done, and if they already have other figures down the road, it looks like, you know, the Storm Shadow, I think he got put on the back burner so they could redo him to make him look like the vintage, you know, Storm Shadow, and not that classified one that's on the box. You see in the Alley Viper, the Bat. You see all these. Well, what if they did an accessory pack and gave you classic weapons? So you'd have, you know, the Cobra Trooper gun in the accessory pack. You have Duke's binoculars. You know, his submachine gun, which is the same machine gun, only green, as Stalker had. And since Stalker hasn't come, I'm willing to bet Stalker's going to have a submachine gun. So all you'd have to do is, if he does come with the black submachine gun, you could have Duke's just turn it green. This one would be the one that I would love to have. Beachheads. I mean, this submachine gun, instead of that stupid, he has like the dumbest gun of them all. Now the backpacks, both, his, you know, has the crossbow. He has the shovel and everything. These are pretty much like the classified figures. I'm gonna go with this because version 2 Roadblock was actually the first one that we got. Here's his machine gun. I don't think we're gonna get his version 1 machine gun. We wouldn't, because they just came out with the heavy artillery and they gave him a realistic minigun. So you see him do something like this. And again, we get to the, you know, the gung ho, like I said. I mean, Valorverse is doing a whole thing where he actually showed them putting the outfit on gung ho because he knew people were gonna want to do that. So imagine giving gung ho his real weapons, maybe a better backpack. That looks a little bit more stylish like that. You know, and then you have, you know, the Baroness. You can do her gun. You know, I always thought this was a nice classic gun. I have a feeling we're going to get a more classic version of Firefly. But if you didn't want to go with Firefly, then you could come out with this gun. You could have a better backpack like this. I no longer have the piece that goes over it. And you could have some sort of phone. I know he came with the phone. And you have like Cobra Commander. So I mean, you could have a pack of figures, or not a pack of figures, a pack of weapons that are more classic-like. Since everyone else is making these, why would Hasbro not want to do it? If I remember correctly, they actually did, I believe it was for Transformers on Hasbro Pulse, where you could order specific weapons for the Transformers. To fit them, to make them look classic. So, and the reason I kind of brought these guys up here is you already have the Uzi, all right? Pop that off. You already have an Uzi. If you didn't want to go with a box Uzi, if you wanted to go with the regular Uzi well, a couple of the Snake Eyes already come with, you could throw that in there to keep production costs down. And I know not everyone has him, but the one thing that Supreme Cobra Commander has is he does have a laser pistol that looks much more like the original. So, you know, that's kind of like killing two birds with one stone. I guess if you have the Regal variant, I know not everyone does. But not everyone, you know, not everyone has this guy. I'm not even trying to here right now. So that was, oh yeah, and then, you know, Beachhead comes with, you know, his little explosive pouch. And so that was, I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. You know, people were kind of wondering, people are throwing things out about the, you know, what this animal could be, animal companion pack, whatever. So that was just something I kind of want to throw out there. So now I want to get into Skystriker. And there's a few things that I want to say about Skystriker. And I wanted to get this out before the Haslab fails. I really have a feeling it's going to fail. Hasbro is listening, that is for sure. I hope someone from Hasbro listens to this. I doubt they would. I have like 315, 325 followers. So anyway, they're listening. And I'm not going to go into it too much because, frankly, I don't really collect Star Wars. But what did they leave out of the Rancor Haslab? The Rancor Keeper. Well, they lost so many backers. And they lost like 1,000 backers. That all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they throw in a Rancor Keeper that's going to hit the minimum, which means they're listening. So there is an issue with GI Joe fans, and I think a lot of us are really whiny babies, and it bothers me because all I've heard for so long was, we don't want classified, we want O-ring figures. We don't want retro, we want O-ring figures. So what do? They give you O-ring figures, they give you a Haslab as O-ring figures, and you know what I hear? Why don't we get a Skystriker Haslab? Well, because that thing would be $500 and this big, which sounds awesome. But if anyone has an aircraft carrier, you know how much space it actually takes up. All right. So it's weird. I keep hearing the complaining, and I'm not the only one that sees it. So many people see it about the GI Joe collectors, and it's bothersome because I am a GI Joe collector, classified, retro, over. I mean, I don't care. I love GI Joe. So the Skystriker, in my opinion, is the beginning of something if it does well. And I'm really worried it's not going to do well. I don't want to put all of this on just the collectors. I just want to say, Hasbro, you screwed up. Giving us 3 Haslabs all at the same time, coming right out of Galactus, going right into Christmas. You cannibalized yourself. But the thing is, there is money out there, because every time I look at that Haslab, man, tell you what, that proton pack has gone up by 1%. I never would have thought that thing would have done what it did. And if I ever hear a G.I. Joe fan complain about seeing all the Ghostbusters figures, I'm just going to point to the Haslab and go, well, that thing funded pretty damn quickly. So clearly there are Ghostbuster fans. I like the movie. I ain't buying the figures. But here's my whole thing with the Skystriker. And I wish they would have done this. And I even posted it. I sent it to Emily. I posted before. Do a comparison of the 83, the 11, and this new one, and show the differences. And they did some videos, but they didn't really show the differences. Not everyone has an 83 Skystriker, and I can tell you this, the 83 Skystriker is way different than the 11 and the other models they made after that. Way different. And it's a much cheaper plastic. It's a different gray. This 11 model, it's a one-seater. But there are a couple things that I noticed that they really didn't talk about. And I'm going to go back to key words that I kept hearing. Again, I have no knowledge of this, but something I just kept hearing. So here's the Skystriker. This is the 83 one. All right? Not my original one. And it's not complete. So they talked about a couple things where the canopy is 2 pieces. It has a piece right here, so it opens up from right here. So it actually stays up. And they actually talked about how they added some strength onto it so it stays up. You know, the 2 pieces, the 2 seats that they have. The biggest thing that everyone always wanted, and anyone that has Skystriker knows, I was honestly, earlier today, I was just downstairs and I was watching the documentary of Top Gun. Why do we all want Skystrikers? Because of Top Gun, honestly. But what did we hate? Top Gun was almost always flying with the wings open. And we don't get that, right? So they made it. So to be flying, you had to have your wings closed. There was a guy in my neighborhood. I actually ended up with the Skystriker. He actually took the wheels off so he could fly with the wings out. Thought it was the coolest thing in the world. So, but here's what they didn't show, and this is from what I can tell. Now, Lenny did talk about it before. Now, they made it so wings open, they're independent in landing gear. The one thing they talked about was that the bottom piece actually opens the landing gear. Well, it has an arista hook, which is the hook that would connect to the aircraft carrier. Boom, catches the aircraft carrier, stops it. Well, I don't have mine anymore, but the one that came with the flag, it just connected to back here. So that's how it was supposed to stop. Hit the tow cable, boom, stop. Well, the arista cable on the bottom of the Haslab is actually connected to the landing gear. So, from what I can tell, if the hook swings down a little bit, it's made to come down, catch the cable on the aircraft carrier, and then open the landing gear as it swings out. Now, why they haven't talked about that, I don't know. That's really bothersome. I actually had, this thing doesn't open up nearly as well as they used to. Alright, so, and a couple other things that I really wish they would have gone over was, they showed you how the Gatling gun is right here. Now, they actually put it on two sides. On the actual F-14 Tomcat, it's only on one side. They have it up here, and they said, hey, that was just something that, they had to do back in the day. So I really wish they would have shown that more. He talked about the differences underneath here. I don't really want to pop anything off, but that it's all different molds. And also showed how the air brakes actually lift up and stuff. So there's a few things. They also never showed how you can change out to have more than just the 6 missiles. The other thing that I noticed, I really wish we could have seen it, or could see it, is on the F-14 Tomcat, as I was watching the documentary, they come with 3 different fuel cells. Now, the middle one, which is what came on this, but then there's 2 smaller ones, which should attach up here. Well, that's where they actually are on the F-14. So, and they also didn't show, and I watch a lot of these videos, is they showed down here, like these are all molded. So the way that I looked at it is these 83 Skystriker and Skystrikers, made after that, they're gonna look very similar, but the Skystriker was made to be an F-14 Tomcat. This Haslab is an F-14 Tomcat that can be made to be a Skystriker. The fact that it's an actual license by the maker of the F-14, and they said they can do that because it's a ship it's a plane that's no longer being used in missions and stuff, so it's not an actual fighter plane anymore. But that's a couple things right there, and I really wish that they would show the size comparison, how they look, how they interact with each other, show the different details. The new one's going to have a piece that pops off here that you can actually connect the ladder to get that pit crew. The pit crew. You hear that? The pit crew. I'm going to get into that in a second. So, I want people to understand that if anyone's listening, that Skystriker there, I know people go, we have 100 of them. I'm not paying $220 for it. Okay, so there's a couple things I want to say about that. The price. people complaining that it's too expensive and that I could buy a Skystriker for $15 or $14 and 83. Well, guess what? I could buy a Dodge Ram for $9 grand and 83. All right? So please stop talking about how it's too expensive when it's not. Now, if you don't have the money, that's cool. If you don't think it's worth your money to spend $220 on a Skystriker because you have an 11 one or one of the multiple other ones, right, 83, then that's fine too. But to say that it's not worth it is just a flat out lie, because you get so much more, including the fuel vehicles that come with it, the stand, all the blast effects, and the fact that it's a modernized, completely different mold and sculpt of it. It's completely new. And here's the thing. If they make 10,000, just 10,000 backers, if there's 11,000 backers, 18,000 backers, whatever it is, that's all. They're never doing another one. Like, that's a one and only. That's why these Haslabs double in price the moment they hit. So that's one reason why I think that people should stop complaining about it. If you don't think it's worth your money, then that's fine. If you don't have the money, that's fine too. And if it doesn't hit it, and that's the reasons, and that's cool. But the people that want to complain that it's not worth it, well, you need to think again, look at everything that you're getting. Now, here's what I wanted to get to. Probably should have started earlier off with this, because who knows who's hanging around for over 20 minutes. But I have no knowledge of this. But Emily continues to refer to the pit. The pit this, the pit that. And I'll say it again. She's not a lifelong GI Joe fan, from what I can tell, right? I'm not saying she's not a GI Joe fan. She seems to be doing wonderful. She interacts with people on his tank and different things like that. And I think that's wonderful. But she's not a huge fan. So for her to know what the pit is it makes you wonder. Because everyone wants an aircraft carrier. And people say for that price of $220, it should be an aircraft carrier. Listen, the aircraft carrier was like $120 back in '85, I believe. I have my original. If you think that they can make an aircraft carrier for $220, you're an idiot. The end of story. You'd be paying anywhere from $500 to $600 to $700 for an aircraft carrier. But one guy on the Full Force podcast, Patrick and not Picard Stewart, he made a good point. If they ever did a flag again, and I'm not saying they wouldn't, it couldn't be smaller than 7.5 feet long, which is the size of the aircraft carrier. It'd probably be at least 8 feet. Because you can't say, hey, we need you to back this for $700 and be like, oh, but it's smaller than the original. And anyone that has an aircraft carrier knows just how big the damn thing is. I've had mine for 30 years. It's huge. I mean, it is huge. And it doesn't move. But Emily continues to refer to the pit. And how this would look great in your display and flying in the pit. Which makes me think, like, if this thing does well, I believe they already have a pit being designed. Now understand this. There's your playset. And there's your GI Joe headquarters. But this is something that's never been done before. But they could go back to Hasbro and say, hey, you got the Skystriker. People bought it. Now they're going to want it to go with the pit. And you would literally, in that pit, make something that has a cable that goes across so the Arista hook would catch it. Go back and watch when they announced the Haslab, and then the follow-up videos that they've done. I think they've done 3 so far, and watch it. And she refers to the pit, I believe, in 2 of them, and she refers to it, I'm pretty sure, or she refers to the base and your displays in the Haslab introduction. So I think that's what you have coming. Again, I have no knowledge of this. I think all this stuff, it's in my head. Someone that thinks way too much about GI Joe, I guess. So, Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm rambling on. I hope you stay through this. I hope people see this. I hope someone from Hasbro, someone from the GI Joe team sees this. Because I'm going to say this right now. I actually saw, I forget what, oh God, I can't remember what video it is. It's the guy that refuses to buy Haslab stuff. And I understand this. I understand what he says. He refused to buy it because it's a big corporation and they should be able to do it. And, you know, they shouldn't have to ask us to fund it. And I kind of agree with them. But at the same time, I understand what they're doing. And I agree. I mean, I'm fine with why he said it. But he said a good thing. And he said, hey, you know what? I'm always saying they don't care. They're just going to move on to the next one. But throwing in that Rancor keeper with the Rancor says, they're listening. Going to finally put on the O-rings and leaving the retro, which they started doing this line, and even a lot of them are remolds, shows they're listening. And more than anything, seeing the classified guys be look way more like our original figures from the 80s, doing a complete course correction, says someone at Hasbro is listening. And I listen to Lenny, like I was a GI Joe fan. I'm willing to bet that if you talk to him off the record, he'd say, hey, here's the only way we get the GI Joe line back, to do their Nerf guns. Because guess who owns Nerf? Hasbro. Do the Nerf guns. Do more sci-fi. But didn't realize that the kids aren't buying these. They're the collectors. They're the 40-year-olds. Don't get me wrong, there are no kids, but there are kids doing it, but it's the 40-year-olds, and we want stuff that brings us back to our childhood. And Hasbro heard us. And Hasbro did a course correction, and they gave us real guns and real weapons with all the new figures. So, anyway, that's it. I think we're going to get a road pig with a wild boar as an animal. I think we can get a weapons pack. This can be just like the old style, which will have which would have the figure, or have the weapons and figures we've already had. Because again, Valiverse is doing them. You got the AK-47 coming. That's going to go with the Cobra Officer. But Valiverse is doing these other little places. They're making their money. You know Hasbro wants that. Then we get to the Skystriker, and again, I really wish they would have done a better job. They should have displayed. Hell, if they wanted to fly out to my house or have me fly out there with Skystrikers, and believe me, there's probably people closer than me that have Skystrikers, that they could use their Skystrikers so they could show them off. Since they did say Hasbro won't let them go in the vault and take their stuff out, you can buy it on eBay. And they could have shown the three different ones. And hey, this is the reason why. This one is worth $120, including the stand and the weapons loadout and all that other stuff. And then just going with keywords. And Emily constantly referring to the pit. The pit. The pit. And I know not everyone even knows what the pit is. I was talking to a buddy of mine today that is a 6-inch figure. And he said, what's the pit? I'm like, that's GI Joe headquarters. Not the GI Joe headquarters we had, but the headquarters from the comic. And I think it would be awesome. But it's going to be a $400 or $500 thing. And it's going to be big. It's going to be Terror Drum size. Bigger than that. And it's going to be something that's going to take up a lot of room. But not as big as a flag. Because, again, full force, Patrick Stewart made it. You know, he said it right, man. Like, it had to be bigger. You couldn't do smaller. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. I've been talking for 30 minutes. I'd say that's a shocker, but anyone that knows me knows I can talk way longer than that. So anyway, follow me on Instagram, Punk with Toys. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a like. Follow. If you having second thoughts about this Skystriker, go fund it. I think it's going to be worth it. If you don't want it in a year and a half when it comes out, turn around and sell it. You're going to double your money. Because you know what? There's going to be buyer's remorse. Because everyone that has an aircraft carrier is going to go, wait a minute, I could put this on my aircraft carrier and close the wings and actually make space. Because as big as that aircraft carrier is, you put 4 of these things on there, especially with the wings open, it takes up almost the whole deck. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here. Punk with Toys. Give me a thumbs up. Follow my channel. I'd appreciate it. And have a great night and have fun hunting.